Hey everyone, it's Sidharth Kumar from ReviewMagic, and today we'll be reviewing a show that I recently discovered on Netflix. It's a Korean show, it's called The Crown Clown. But before I get into the review of the show, I just wanted to wish all my subscribers a very happy new year. And I wish all the best to you and your family in this coming year. So let's quickly jump into The Crown Clown. So, as I was surfing through different shows, I particularly am a big fan of the Korean drama. You know, you've seen Parasite that got Oscars a couple of years back. As a matter of fact, I'm watching a new Korean show, but I'm going to do a review some point later. So let's stick to The Crown Clown. This is a show that came out in 2019. It's got 16 episodes, almost an hour long, and it stars in the lead Yeo Jin-gu, who plays the clown Ha-seon, and I'm going to talk more about it. Se-yeong Lee, she's the queen. Her name is Yoo Soo-won in the show. You have Kim Sang-kyung, who plays the chief royal secretary in the show. Hai Hyu-kwin, he is the left state counselor, and then Jang Gueg, he is the king's aide. There are a lot more people that I could have listed in this show, and the reason that I have so many people here is because I cannot imagine the amount of prowess in terms of acting department that each one of these people have contributed to the Crowned Clown. So, what is the show all about? The show is set in Joseon period in Korea. And back in those days when you had kingdoms, you had palaces. I mean, you had royal kings, and kings were always under threats from either coup or assassination attempts. So this is a king who is in one of those situations, and there's a lot of turmoil going on. People want his crown, his chair, and what this king really does is that he finds a look-alike of himself, and he replaces him by that clown, because that is what the person actually does who replaces them. In real life, that person, he does mimicry. He is a small time clown with his friends, family, and eventually he gets to the throne. And while the king is somewhere in a safe place, he is on his own, and he doesn't have any threat level. So as the story progresses, as I started to watch this, initially it is slow. You're seeing some 200 to 300 years old Korea set in rural farmland. There is a big palace there, and Yoo Jung-gu, who's the lead actor here, he's a clown. He does some mimicry. He pleases different people. He makes money out of that, and sometimes in those places he comes across a noble people, who are kings, who are senators, who are occupying big space in positions, I should say, in a kingdom. So one of the senators, he sees this guy and he says, like, hey, this guy looks a little bit too royal for his position. So that's how the story starts. It builds up their curiosity. Why is he saying that? And ultimately what happens is that Haseon, the main character, lead character here, he ends up in a he ends up in a village, or I should say in a kingdom where this replacement is going to happen. So one of the senators, the chief royal secretary, one day he sees this clown, and he is just amazed to see that he is a complete lookalike of the king, who is facing assassination attempt. So he plans replacement. The king is fine with that. He can't believe the king actually. He's a mean person. He has killed a lot of people who have planned coups or assassination attempts against him. He's not good at heart. He's like a typical king who wants to make a lot of reforms. He and the not reform in the sense he wants to have. He can kill, murder anyone. He doesn't think very logically, and he is always he's given some aid by the left state counselor, who are always conniving, conspiring. And this guy is trying to take hold of the entire court. So just like in the US, you're going to see Republicans and Democrats. Here in this show, you're going to see on the left hand side, there are different set of people headed by the chief royal secretary, and on the right hand side, you're going to see those bad people who are led by the chief, the state counselor here. So anyways, what happens when the replacement happens? This new clown that comes, he takes some time to set in. I mean, the mannerisms are going to be different. He can't just portray or believe that he's the royal guy in this one day. It takes time to get into the act of it. Very few initially, so no one suspects that, but as months go by, people start suspecting that this guy has a kind heart. He doesn't kill unnecessary. He doesn't pass orders without thinking. He's looking to reform everything. He's looking to cut loopholes. He's appointing people not only from the higher elite dynasty, but also from poor people. Anyone who's talented, he hires one of those guys, someone to take over the auditing part, tax auditing part, and close all the loopholes, reduce corruption, and kind of look after the overall wellness of his kingdom and Korea. So I think people start suspecting that sometimes. The main lead here, Haseon, he has a sister, and sister, while one day she's wandering in the mountain, she's able to see the actual king change. So she releases him by mistake, and then the real king comes back and he kicks the old clown, and then he comes back into it. But because the king's health is frailing, he had tried to take over the kingdom, so he gets hallucinations. He's mentally unstable, and eventually he dies because the chief secretary gives him poison. He's not in a condition to live, so he's gone. And then the clown actually becomes the king. And some people actually, the conspiring guy that I was talking about, played by Hui-won, the left state counselor, he despises him. And he's always thinking, how do I get this lowly clown out of, how do I tell everyone about the truth? How do I get more evidence? So that's how the story is unfolding. But eventually, I think Haseon is able to run all the affairs. He's able to not have a coup take over because of his sharp thinking, his ability to plan, his ability to convince people, and he turns out to be a great king overall for the kingdom. He's passing a lot of reforms. He wants to pass on his legacy to someone who will be able to take good decisions. And then he goes away, although there is an attempt on him too in the end when he's going to meet his wife, who's played by se-yeong Lee. They decide to just go out of the city and have a decent life. So I think that this was really a great show overall. If you ask me, the story, the direction, it starts slow, but it builds up, and you want to keep saying, "Hey, what's coming next?" And I think the director Kim Hui-won, he did a wonderful and phenomenal job. I mean, the story is beautiful. It's calm. You can see in that era of time in Korea, even though where there was a lot of politics and a lot of action going on. There is a threat from the Chinese Ming Qing dynasty, but the movie flows in a way that really impresses you. There are moments of high, low, but it kind of has a consistency to it. And I think the story you just want to keep looking what's coming up. It has a well balanced story. There is action, there is thrill, there is drama, and I don't want to forget to say there is comedy too, because this is a crown clown. It's a comedy, dramatic Korean show. So as far as this direction and story is concerned, full marks to the director. I think this was a beautiful show. I even when I was on vacation, I wanted to make sure that I finish all the episodes. As far as the acting is concerned, I said initially that there was a long list of people that I could, recognize and give credit to. I think there was no one that didn't do a phenomenal job. Whether it was Yeo Jin-gu, the clown, Haseon, whether it was his queen, whether it was his chief royal secretary, this was a phenomenal acting department. And I think I especially, there is a time in the movie where the chief royal secretary, who was who's played by Kim Sang Kyun, he doesn't really like the clown in the first place. He knows that this is just a temporary replacement. But the movie comes to a point where he actually bows down and he accepts the clown as his Jonah. And Jonah in Korean means His Majesty. I've seen all the 16 episodes, so I can pick up now when Jonah means what. So I think that transition is the key moment where he starts to build his trust and confidence in the clown. He knows that this guy has a good heart and he's looking after the entire kingdom. So he needs his support too, as much as the chief secretary needs his support. So I think that's a very magical moment. That's a key friendship moment, because every time when no one is around, the chief secretary kicks the clown's ass. You don't know jack shit. You don't know this. But after that transition happens, you will see that they treat each other with respect, with seniority. And I think that you have to wait till that moment. Otherwise, it's just like, it's just going. He's getting orders and he has to do it. It's not that the plot changes. And then, cinematography is also beautiful. I think Korean film industry is using a lot of drones. The location was fantastic. I couldn't believe that they showed visuals of sea, and there was not a single boat on it. There are no people in it. The art direction, the whole set, it just looks like you're in 15th century Korea. So the dresses, the attire, the way people talk, the way people walk, the old ways, customs of doing Korean rituals. The queen stays separately, the king stays separately. They only meet once in a while. It's a very formal relationship back in those days. A queen walks, she has 10 people walking behind her. Their mannerisms, the way they sit down in the Korean culture, I think it really inspires you. You also have that as a takeaway, not just about the acting, the story, but how things went and the attention to detail in this story. So I think this was something worth watching. Each and every, the dresses to the customs, the mannerisms is phenomenal. So I think that I would really, I went on IMDb. I gave this show a 10 out of 10. And I'm pretty sure that if you have the patience to, watch the show in Korean, because that is the dialect, and read the subtitles, if you have the patience, you will be able to understand what this story is all about. And I gave 10 out of 10 on IMDb. This was one of the most phenomenal show that I have seen set in those period. You've got My Mister, you've got Misang, in the modern day Korea, set in those time. But for the old time, this is a really great show. So guys, that's all I have from you. This is Sidharth Kumar from Review Magic signing off. And if you have any comments, please mention here, and also subscribe to the channel so that I do more reviews and I give you these tips about what the show is all about, and some new shows that are available on these streaming channels. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of the year. Take care. Bye.